mannequin, and then we'll just play an old talk. Have them send checks to wherever I am, in Hawaii maybe. All live, virtually.
The camera's rolling, by the way.
Oh, is it? All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to share first just how certain things happened with me. Because obviously we are already directed. We're basically directed from self-centeredness. Yeah? And it has sort of a myopic view, and everything is seen somehow how it pertains to you as a body, basically. Yeah. So, and it has its logic. And if you don't see the logic from outside of it, which would inform you it's insane, inside of the logic it seems logical. Yeah. So the idea that you have a drive to get into the moment seems incredibly logical if there's a belief you could be out of a moment. Yeah. Because you would think how you're feeling when you're out of a moment would be remedied if I was in the moment. Yeah. But the premise, the whole point is you can't be out of a moment. You see? So the insanity, when based on a false idea, can seem sane. So people are trying to get into something they can't be out of, and then conversely, they're trying to get out of something they can't be in. Yeah, because if this guy said something to me this morning, and it was really good. He was talking about glimpses of whatever, of being free from self, let's say. And he says, but then sometimes it's all consuming, yeah? And he seems to lose it. But the fact is, what is it all consuming to but the all? The all believes it's all consuming, and therefore it seems like it's all consuming only because the all believes it's all consuming. And for it to forget the allness, seemingly, to be all consumed, it has to forget the allness to be all consumed. So there's an identification as what it's not, and that which it's not can be all consumed by a fucking triviality or a thought or an emotion or stuff like that. And it makes it as real can be because it's the all believing it. So the all dreaming can dream that it's all consumed. And therefore it seems as real can be because it's the dreaming believing the dreaming. Yeah. But it can't believe the dreaming without a certain primary pre-step, which is identification as the dreamt. It needs to believe it's an object of the dream to make the dream seem real. So if you see it, like we go to sleep at night, and then we dream, seemingly, and then we wake up, and because we wake up, we can call that a dream. Yeah. But it's a dreamt object in a larger dream, calling a little part of the dream, not realizing this whole awakeness is a dream. Yeah. The only reason why you could call, if the night dream was always going on, it would be now. It would be like this. If there wasn't a stop in a sense, and another part of a dream to compare it and say, oh, that's dreaming, this would be the dreaming. Yeah. This would be like what we do at night. It would be like the dreaming at night never seemed to stop, and there was another part of the dream to look at it from. This would be it. Yeah. It's only because it seems to stop and something else starts that we can go, oh, that's dreaming. But we're saying that's dreaming from dreaming. So you can't get out of the dreaming as the dreamt. It's impossible. So the idea of trying to find yourself is impossible here because it would be what you are trying to find what it is. How could that fucking work? It could seem to work, you will believe it may work, but it's always extended in time. But if the timelessness comes over you, the whole logic of looking for what you are gets totally dismissed in like a nanosecond. To the point, like I remember with me, I got struck sober, yeah, truly. I got struck sober. I'd been living under the influence of a very strong addictive nature that led me to want to get so much fucking relief. I was just shooting cocaine into my neck so I could get it to my brain and my heart faster than if I put it in my arm. Because the imperative was to get relief now. Now, what would drive something to go that far? Yeah. And then one day, and my mother wanted me to stop, the state wanted me to stop, I wanted to stop. No human power could cause this to stop. It was like a fucking runaway train. No matter what barricade you put up, it ran right through it. Yeah, it just was unbelievable. And it had an energy that was just energizing itself. The more I wanted to get out, the more I was in a sense. Then one day, a regular day at the office, I was just trying to fucking survive till like the afternoon. So I was drinking a cheap vodka with somebody, and I was up against that thing that most addicts always end up at, which is I had this huge craving, but I had no money to fulfill it. So I was always in the position of trying to convince someone to fucking spend the money so I could get high, which was, I had a much better batting average when I was younger, when I looked better and I had some charm, but now I was a little rough, like a hobo-ish type look. I wasn't hitting, my batting average was pretty low. I was striking out a lot, and I was fucking pissed. You know, I was so fucking angry. And so I was just sitting in this freaking trailer and something downloaded. And like this radioisotope was removed, this urge to fucking get out, this urge to escape. And the urge to escape was unbelievably clear, but how it was misdirected was the problem. I was trying to get out of self as a self. The more I tried to get out, the more I was in. Yeah? And suddenly that all stopped. And from that point on to this day, I've never had a strong thought or a feeling to get loaded. I don't need skillful means because I have no thoughts that I have to fight. I'm not having any advertising of how great it would be to shoot coke, ever. I haven't stopped paying it. I haven't done anything. Something happened and put a stop to it. Yeah. The thing here with this message is if you can see that it's an activity, yeah, that there isn't anything that you're bound to. It's an activity. You believe something, and therefore it seems to be so, as Jesus says, as you believe, so it is. He was talking about a fundamental aspect of mind, yeah? Here, as you believe, so it is, seemingly. And seemingly is the key. It will appear to be true to you. It doesn't matter. No one else may see it as true, but you will. And in that, there will be a reality to it. Because now reality, as you, has given meaning to something as being real. So this, just like that guy said, oh, it suddenly becomes all-consuming. But what had to happen for it to seem to be all-consuming? That which is the all had to believe it had the ability to be all-consuming. And for that ability to believe it can be all-consumed, it has to forget, seemingly, it's the all. It has to become a long-lasting, independent, separate entity that can be affected by outside situations and lives in the constant anxiety of trying to navigate through a landmine called Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it seems like a never fucking ending journey. And you'll do things like this little line here, and you'll do, let's say, 3 weeks in a retreat, and those 12 little things, everything's going well, yeah? But suddenly you leave the retreat and the fucking shit hits the fan again. And so you work 3 weeks, and at 9 o'clock Sunday morning, it's the last day, you feel fucking great. You had no calls from the outside. You don't know your girlfriend's cheating or not. None of that's happening. And yet it's 9 o'clock, but 9:01, different conditions arise. You get the call. Oh, I have to tell you something, Paul. I've been sleeping with your teacher or something, whatever, you know. Yes? Suddenly what happens? That very precarious condition is affected. Yeah? So what happens? It demands more of this. And after a while, that's all you're doing. You're like a roller coaster. You get some highs, you get some lows, but no, basically you never end anywhere because the ending is where you're at. You and I just don't think so. If the thinking would be corrected or less interested, you would realize there's no need to look for what's looking. It's just being aware of what's looking. And you cannot not be aware of it because you are what's looking. So any message to me that's worth its salt is a negation. I do not want to hear how wonderful allness is because I'm hearing it from separation. I'm just going to give an idea to allness related to separation. I want to see what believes it's separate, and if that's not so, that's the fucking wholeness. And it doesn't take any second to transform into that because it's never not been that. See, that's the beauty of the message. It's not giving you another thing to do. It's informing you about what you're not, and then it takes no second to turn from what you're not into what you are, because what you're not is what you're not. It's never changed what you are. It never left a blemish on what you are. It's never affected it one freaking bit. And if you don't have those experiences, I'm going to share them with you, because it's happened with me. I had opportunities to share this message in the context of AA for 19 years, every Monday night, and that's a lot of Mondays. And I was in a lot of different conditions when I walked into that room to share. I had what some conditions was I was waiting to hear if I had AIDS or not because I was a drug user. My girlfriend just left. I had no money. I had a sinus infection. Tons of things that would preclude in my head that I was unable to have this thing move through me, yet it moved through me, no matter what condition I seemed to be in. And whatever condition that was pressing a second before the meeting had no effect the whole meeting. It's as if it never happened, because it never happened. It can't happen without me. And when the me that I call, was distracted by a larger message, all of that which it was attending to was dismissed because it's not there unless you're attending to it. And that really, the problem in spirituality is there's too much fucking interest in it. The approach to spirituality is loss of interest. You can get there by having a huge amount of interest in spirituality and getting disappointed. So like it says in the Course, what can a failed system show you? It can show you it's failed. That's a fucking good teaching. So you'll have a huge amount of interest and get so disillusioned that you'll become uninterested in it, and suddenly what you were looking for you start to feel. But not by looking for it. When the looking for it gets fucking exhausted, whoop, you're looking from it. So I want to riff on this thing. Oh, I got a picture of someone here. How do I get to that page? I'm going to riff on this lady.
That's Kate.
Okay. All right, so this is a piece from the Course. Everyone's, some of us been introduced to the Course of Miracles, yes? Yes, all right. So this is one of my favorite little points. It's on page 468. And the first sentence, I've asked people who are experts in the Course, I think it's just a description of what we're not. So it goes here. Yet we have heard a very similar description earlier of what we're not, yeah? But it was not of you. The only thing that can be described is not of you. What you and I are can never be described, but what we're not can be described. What you and I are can never be studied, but what we're not can be studied. What you and I are can never be known, but we can know what we're not. See, that's the way it goes. If you know what you're not, you'll find out what you are. By the knowing of what you're not, you find out what you are. But trying to find out what you are from what you're not never works. Yeah? So he goes, yet we have heard a very similar description earlier, but it was not of you. It's like, you ever hear of the Enneagram? It's a Sufi thing, no? Yes? Well, the Enneagram was a trip. The Sufis are like the mystic part of Islam, yeah? And they came up with this way of describing every kind of character or personality. So there was 9 different, they gave them numbers. So there was like 9 numbers, and then they added 2 little subdivisions. But let's stay with the 9 numbers. And you'll go on a seminar, a 3-day thing to learn what number you are. So at the break, everyone now knows they're a 4 or a 3. So everyone's, oh, well, I'm a 4. And 4s go well with 3s. Let's go out to lunch and on and on. But the point is, you learn that you're a 4 to realize you're not a 4. Yeah? You learn about you to realize you're not a you. Not to become more of that. See, the knowledge claimed by self avails us nothing, like it said in recovery. But knowledge of self is incredibly valuable. But self-knowledge has no value. Why is that? If knowledge is claimed by the false reference, it's going to be used to reinforce the false reference. If you study the false reference and see that it's not you, that has value. But if you're studying about what you are for what you're not, it goes fucking nowhere. You may get a PhD or you may become a professor of holes, but you keep falling into holes. What's the point of the knowledge? So, but still this strange idea, which is this idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, but still this strange idea, which it does accurately describe, you think is you. That's the only way that which you are could take itself to be something else, but through thought. It's always you think it's you. Yeah? You think you're separate. You think you're connected. You think you're lost. You think you're found. The found and lost is predicated on the thinking. Without thinking, there would be no lost and found. The mind would not be split. It wouldn't be thinking it's far away from what it is. And most definitely, it wouldn't be thinking it's getting closer to what it is. So they always use this term in Course in Miracles, but you could say wisdom if you want. It says, reason would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours, these, yes, must make no sense to you. If I was here and I as a kid appeared and it saw me and it saw I was super bummed out on Saturday when it's sunny and everything's great, and see that you must be reacting to what's not happening, Paul, that's fucking insane. Let's go out and play. Yeah? And when I was playing when I was a kid, I wasn't thinking, will I be playing next week? Because I didn't have time set up yet. You see, it's all constructed. We're dreaming right now and we don't want to see it, because if we see it, the dreamt cannot be us. So reason would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours must make no sense to you. I'm reading out of the Course in Miracles back there, if you get it. Have you ever heard of it? The Course in Miracles?
I did.
All right, good. So to whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? So where are the messages of the eyes which see separation and things? Where is that being sent back to? To whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? Surely not you, whose sight is wholly independent of the eyes that look upon the world. What is that sight that is wholly independent of the eyes? Awareness, yeah? There's a seeing that's not being conducted through eyeballs. There's a seeing that's not captured or initiated or fueled by thought. There's a seeing that's wholly independent of the eyes that see this world. What is that? Is that being? Is that awareness? How could you call that other? If this is not your vision, what can it show to you? What I believe it can show to you is it's not your vision. Yeah? Look at how easy it is to change perception. Just put on a pair of sunglasses. They have these sunglasses now that have this happy thing. You wear it and everything seems brighter. Like that. It didn't take a second to make it seem brighter. Just put them on and everything's different. That's how easy it is. That's how easy it is to fool perception. Yet we believe this is true. I think I lost this thing. How did I do that? I did lose it. Bro, I need your help. I'm in salvation in the holy relationship now.
Nice going. 468.
What is the holy relationship? Oh, here it is, yeah, 467. So, surely not you whose sight is wholly dependent. I just read this because I can say it tons of ways, and it's nice to hear it in another way. But if you don't get the sense that it's describing like a foreign installment or a fucking parasitical movement or a false reference that keeps reinvigorating itself through perception and memory and thought, you're missing it. It's describing a fucking system, yeah, that's foreign to us. Yet we're calling it and all its effects ours. So when we want to be free, we entertain freedom as the system, and it's from the system we're looking for. And I'm saying humbly that the freedom from the system is inherently available. That the system has not changed the fact of what we are. We're wholly independent of the system. That's the relief. The relief will not be found in or through the system, it's from the system. But how will you, if the system itself has an incredible strategy to keep you still engaged with the system, even when there's a crusade to get out of the system, it's the system going on the fucking crusade, and it has no intention of getting out of the system. It's actually extending the domain of the system. Now, in the domain of the system, out is in. When you're getting out of the system, or you think you are, it's in the system. And the more you go out, try to get out, the bigger the in becomes. Now you thought when you were in this one condition, spirituality will be the way out. But no, once you go into spirituality, spirituality is seen as every fucking thing else. You're there. The mental state's claiming it and making it more of the in. And I believed that spirituality was going to take me out of it. After I realized drugs wasn't going to, because that was my first religion, I thought spirituality is more noble than washing the dishes. It's going to take me out. But I found out it's not taking me out at all. It gives me a bigger out to be in. And then I can join others who are thinking they're getting out. And we're going to 800 fucking meetings about being out, but it's all about trying to get out. And that's being in. Has it worked? If it hasn't worked, it's not going to work. It's not because of us, it's the failed system we're relying on. It has nothing to do with us. In self-centeredness, everything always has everything to do with us, and it doesn't. We're just being directed by a failed system. Its way of looking is blind to what's seeing. If you attempt to find it through the system, you'll never find it. The brain cannot interpret what your vision sees. So what's truly seeing, what's truly aware, cannot be interpreted by the brain. The way it interprets it is it's a symbol or a signal of that you are. It uses awareness to imply the one who's aware. That's all it does. Its whole modus operandi is to claim. Whatever it gets in contact with, it claims to be the one that's in contact with it. But the sense of being the one comes after, not before. But it's implied to be before. It's like a switcheroo. See, mental state does not go this time route. It presents something after that implies it's before. So it uses an effect to imply a cause. So now you become the doer, you become the seer, you become the feeler, you become the thinker. While you're a thought, a feeling, a doing. And then you're bound to this idea of being of a self, seemingly. Like that thing, that all-consuming thing really worked for me today. The only way you could have an experience of being all-consumed would be the all entertaining that it can be all-consumed. How you can forget what you are unless what you are wants to forget? Yeah? How can false evidence appear real unless it appears real to what's real? What are we? Are we real or not? Are we giving everything all the meaning it has, or aren't we? False evidence cannot be real. The highest level it can reach is to appear to be real to reality. We're reality, not as this, but as what we are. That seeing that's wholly independent of the eyes of the body. That's reality. So false evidence all day is available. It's being presented like almost like an advertising. But without the audience's consent, the show doesn't go on. It's all huffing and puffing and no house gets blown down. But if you give your breath to it, then it can seem to blow a house down. And you'll be in the house when it gets blown down. And then you'll want to get out of the blown out house, and so on and so forth, and there you go. On and on and on and on. Never realizing the true cause is the dreaming. That what you're calling a cause is an effect. So I hope I didn't lose this page, but let's see. Yes, I did. So you have to sit with me right here. He needs help. Yeah, on that. And I love to get this through to all of you because I'd like to see all of you travel lighter. I really would. And I really humbly right now believe most spirituality is shit. What's being presented in spirituality. It's being claimed by what we're not and being used to extend itself into pursuit of like annihilation. But you'll be there every second of the trip to annihilation. Yeah, it'll be all about you going to be a future annihilation. What would something that doesn't exist, what would be a great thing for something that doesn't exist to start getting into? An annihilation of itself. So a non-existent thing says the only way truth will be revealed to you is when the non-existent thing is annihilated. So suddenly it has an existence that we've given it. But what? You don't need to annihilate a non-existent thing. There's no vanquishing or killing or, pinning it down on the mat. You don't have to go back and see if it's resurrected. It's non-existing. Its existence is totally based on us believing its existence. If that's withdrawn, it never fucking existed. It never will exist. That's how beautiful the solution is. The solution is so beautiful, there's no need for a solution. It's so beautiful. The solution is totally not of time, and it takes no time for it to come to pass because it's never not come to pass. It's always available at all time. It negates all time because it's always available at all time. So the brain this is incredible, this part. The brain cannot interpret what your vision sees. This you would understand. Yeah? The brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So I was doing a talk in Dublin, and a guy was in there, and he says, you talk about not being a body, and you sound like it's so easy. But I just cannot that's almost impossible. I said, yeah, that's the body talk. Of course the body is going to say it's impossible to get out of the body because it doesn't want to get out of the body. That's its only place it can thrive, right? So the problem itself makes the solution incredibly difficult. But the solution is not difficult at all because there's no need for a solution. But if you hear it from the body, from the brain, it's going to interpret, how is the body going to become spiritual? I swear to God. That means I can't fart in public, comes up with these crazy ideas, loving gazes, I smell good, I walk very slowly, I'm monotone, da-da-da-da-da. It's all fucking made up. No one here is ever going to become spiritual. We're past that point. We are spirit. How can spirit become spiritual? It's like a pantomime. And then we make up false authorities to tell us how we're doing. And usually there's money involved.
Lavish lifestyles.
The brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. I mean, how much clearer can it be? So if you're listening to what we call the head, all of its direction, all of its critiquing, all of its cognizing, all of its logic is based on you being a body. It's interpreting. So when you hear the idea of spirit, it's interpreted as you as a body becoming spiritual. When it hears this message, it's sort of like the first video we ever did was the sheep lion video, because that's what was happening with me. I had gone to satsangs and I saw this dynamic going on. There was still a huge us and them in the point. It's supposed, first of all, there is no non-duality meetings. Where are they? This is a duality meeting, basically. We're trying to talk about what we're not. Yeah? So because the non-duality is the inherent condition. You can't go to a meeting because it's always a non-duality meeting. Really. So so the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part, but what it says you cannot understand. As awareness, you cannot understand yesterday and tomorrow. Because you're not sensing it, you're not hearing it, you're not tasting it, you're not touching it. Yesterday can only be brought here by thinking, yeah? And if you rely on the thought system, you have to see the basis of the whole thought system is that you're a body. Every time you're thought about as a body. When you're remembered in the past, in memories, you're remembered as a body. When I say, oh, the last time I was in Toronto, how can I picture myself any other way but as a body in Toronto last year? Couldn't picture myself as spirit. Where would I end? Am I on DuPont or fucking Addison or whatever? You know, how could I separate the spirit? And so there I am in fucking Toronto at fucking Ezra Pound. I'm getting paid by Ezra Pound to make commercials for it. A very good latte. So, you see, the thought system sees you as a body. The memories picture you as a body. Yeah. So when the brain is interpreting everything, it's interpreting to you as a body. What more do you need to hear other than that? I mean, what's setting you into a point and then creating a direction is off. You're taken to be a body. What more do you really need to know? What you're relying on is taking you to be a body, and you have a strange suspicion you may be something other than that, then the best thing, what that failed system can show you is it's failed. So, and if you start losing interest in the system, its influence over what we are is diminished greatly. This isn't about getting interested in something. It's about losing interest. Yeah? And so suddenly the interest and attention, like for me, that's presence. The presence is undirected interest and attention. Yeah. My mental state isn't sending it on another shore to fucking create a reflection of itself as a body through thinking, memory, whatever. It's sort of suspended now. It's like undirected interest and attention. That's the presence. Yeah. The mental state is constantly directing out interest and attention into what's not happening. Not because it's that interesting, it wants to disperse the interest and attention. Because that way its little story can have traction. But if you're really interested and attentive right now, it's obviously fucking baloney. So, it says, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. But what it says you cannot understand, yet you have listened to it. Why do you listen? Why do we listen to it? Because we believe it's about us. I would not listen to Kay Stanley. Yeah? If I was Paul and Kay Stanley was playing, I would immediately let it go to another station because I'm not interested in Kay Stanley. But I have a fucking automatic renewal subscription to Kay Paul every day. So it's the same thought that you're having, And if I can see it as yours, I have an immunity to it, but if I call it mine, it has the ability to affect me. Where is it getting that power? Not from the thought, from us. If you see the activity of what you're not, that's what you are. If that which seems to be before is now seen to be after, what is the recognition going to be? You're going to be seeing it from the before, the real before. Yeah? That which is before thought. That which doesn't get promoted or conjured up through thought, but that which is thoughtless. Yeah? That's where the freedom from. If you keep seeing thoughts from a thought, that like the thought is you're a body, you're in the mix. You believe you're on the shore, but you're drowning in the river. But if you see it from a space prior to thought, then you can see. And what you will see is this whole idea of being a self is an activity. It's a mental process presenting a story. I call it selfing, but really what selfing is, the essence of it is the act of being identified as a self. Yeah? So it's a verb completely. So the mental state right now, all the time in time, is in the act of being identified as self. It can never be a self. Yeah? So it's always in the act of being identified as one. But it can never culminate into actually making it so. It can only appear to be so to what's so. Yeah? Without the audience, the movie doesn't go on. Yeah? It has to convince the audience to fucking, it's like getting the backer of a movie. For this movie to get distributed, the audience has to fucking pay with interest and attention. Yeah. Then it gets legs. But those legs are given to it. So if there's the seeing of it, the seeing of what you're not is the activity of being what you are. And suddenly now what you used to call you see as an activity in the context of that. Yeah? So you see the act of being identified as a self, being presented. And when it's presented and there's a believability in it, it presupposes that you're the thing. Yeah? The idea of being the thing is after, but then it gets presupposed. So now that which comes after is now placed to be before, and you forget the before, seemingly. And now you start looking for the before from that which came after. But you're totally going in the wrong direction because you think you're the before. So now you're looking this way when it's just that way. And it doesn't care how many fucking retreats you go on, doesn't care how much work you do, because it has total assurance you're never going to find what's looking by looking for it. It's just, come on, yeah, keep going. Yeah. It'll be right around the corner. You just have to purify a little more. And they realize it's never going to work, so then they come up with these ideas. It could take lifetimes. Can you imagine if you went to a coffee shop and they told, I'd say, hey, I'd like to have a latte. It could take lifetimes. Would I stay in that coffee shop? No fucking way, but in spirituality, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And they take lifetimes, you know? Purification could be, what the hell? If there were companies like a cafe, most of the spirituality would have been fucking closed down. It's not producing any real results. There's no radical fucking relief. Because the relief is prior to all that. It's not a product or not an event that happens after it. It's prior to it. The relief is really, you're free from the need to be relieved. Yeah? You're free from the need to be liberated. It's not liberation. You're free from the need to be liberated. You lose interest in it. That's the gaining. That's the gaining of it, is losing interest in it. And you don't rest. You don't abide. How can you abide in what's always so? You don't do fucking anything, in a way. And then you do a lot of shit during the day. But concerning that, you do absolutely nothing. Because it's always available at all times, right? Where you are, with no requirement necessary. it's never gonna blink. It's never gonna remove itself. It's never gonna look another way. It's like the sky right now today. Everything can happen in that sky, yet there's not been one historical ledger left in that sky. It doesn't have the ledger of past clouds that passed through it 5 weeks ago. Yes? It has millions and millions of clouds that passed through it. Not once did the sky become a cloud. Never. Yeah? Tons of explosions on 4th of July in America. It's never ripped open. It's just like Big M mind. It allows everything to appear in it, yet it's not affected by any of the appearances. Now, when it's dreaming that it's a cloud, suddenly all the other clouds have the ability to affect it as a cloud. That's the dreaming. The Course says it perfectly. It says, you and I are the dreaming of this dream. We forget that we're dreaming, which to me is identification as the dreamt. We can seemingly forget. That which is unforgettable can seemingly forget in time, yeah? So now we're in this new condition. I've taken myself to be the dreamt, and then suddenly everything I'm dreaming has the power to affect me. Not because it has the power to affect me, but the power is given to it to produce an effect. As soon as I become identified, suddenly the thought that I own now owns me. The feeling that I have now has me. And that describes everyone's fucking day here. You can have one diagram pasted all around the world in different languages, and this is what's actually happening. We're dreaming this dreaming. We seemingly forget that we're dreaming by being identified as the dreamt, and in that condition, suddenly we give everything we're dreaming the ability to affect us. And then the mental state starts from there and tries to get strategies. How can I avoid the fucking hate, the undesirable, and how can I get closer to the desirable? And then there you go. And now the source of love feels unloved. Yeah? Now unity is seeking for unity. Now wholeness is trying to repair the separation, which isn't so. I'm humbly saying it's all direction. If you see what you're not, you're going to find out what you are. It's inevitable. But if you keep looking from what you're not going to find fucking anything out. Unless you're going to find out that it's a failed system sooner or later, and that will serve us. So you'll stop looking and you realize that's the seeing. The seeing is unfocused looking, basically. Yeah? It's like the sun. If the sun's awesome today in Toronto, but can you imagine if someone put a big magnifying glass there and picked one object, it would incinerate you in a second. Yeah, the same thing. We have a mind that's incredibly powerful, dreaming, and then the mental state moves a little magnifying glass, and now all the attention goes on this one object, me, and suddenly this freaking body becomes the center of the universe. Wait a minute. It's like putting 5 tons on a half-ton pickup. It can't handle the weight. And then you see the head just starts mutating, And people are really fucking weird sometimes. You can see some people when they come in, they're like, wait a minute. And now they become citizens of what's not happening. And they're trying to explain it to everyone, but it's not happening to the other people. We can't understand why they're so fucked. Because it's actually not happening. And so you hold the space and you let what's not, let it blow out with the hopes that they'll get exhausted and realize, to me, if I was a therapist, we did it the other night, but if I was another therapist, I would just take people to the lake and have them jump in and not freeze it, and they'd forget every fucking thing like that. Like shock therapy, just throw them in the water. All their concerns would be dismissed immediately. And if they can be dismissed so easily, maybe they get the sense that, hey, how could they be real if me jumping in the water can erase them? What's the one constant? Me in both of them. If you start seeing the role we really have here, the Course is a great introduction to it because it's basically saying you're the dreaming of the dream. You're giving everything all the meaning it has. Da-da-da-da-da-da. What's it trying to do? It's trying to inform us that the stop we think is the Alpha and the Omega is not. It's an afterthought. That's implying it's before all thoughts. And the thought takes the sense of being you. We never recognize the thought that I'm a body, but it's a thought. So, but what it says you cannot understand, yet you have listened to it, and long and hard you tried to understand its messages. Yeah, like it's okay to put off satisfaction, or forget about being okay, I will be okay. No, I will be okay sometime. Immediately, Jesus, how it's like a slavery. I was at the airport the other night, and I have wheelchairs for the legs, yeah? They had no one, there was no wheelchairs, and there was no one to push the wheelchairs. And we were sitting in an area, yeah? And I decided, fuck, I'm the principal. I want the manager. I mean, how can this happen? You sign up when you get on the plane, hey, I'm gonna need a wheelchair, and there's no wheelchair. And there's like 8 people there, and we're sitting there for an hour. There's nobody there. And so usually I let everything pass, like, no fucking way. I'm tired of this, yeah? You call the cable company, the phones, yeah? When you make a mistake, you're penalized. They're fucking making mistakes all fucking day. And they never apologize. So I made it, I want an apology. It's all based on principle. I'm not leaving until someone with some authority says they're sorry. I put my fucking foot down. Because the herd, we're so fucking docile. I did a cartoon, I like to give it to a magazine, and it's called, there's this half-ton pickup with slats, and on the side it says Mike's Meat Market, yeah? And there's 50 cows in the back, and they're all there, and then there's one cow looking up with wide eyes, and I say the awakened one. This is what happens in the system. The system is intolerable. So we learn how to tolerate it, and then we learn how to tolerate more intolerability. Instead of putting our foot down, you know? This message is not passive, it's fucking active. What you are is a verb. You're not a noun. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening. We're trying to make sense out of verbing from a noun's point of view. It makes no fucking sense. None of this can be understood. You have received no messages at all, you understand, for you have listened to what can never communicate at all. Think then what happens. Please don't think then. Think then what happens. Actually, this is perfect. Think then what happens. Denying what you are. How are you denying right now? You don't feel like you're denying what you are, but the act of confirmation of what you're not is the denial of what you are. And where some of us, the mental state is constantly in the active affirmation of what it is. It's constantly in the verb of being identified as a self. And it's trying to pull us in as if we're an audience. That's why, especially if you're in recovery, sometimes in recovery, the thought system is trying to convince the hell out of something in there to go get a drink. When there's tons of ample evidence, that would be an insane idea to follow, but it is so persistent. But it seems to be directed at something, some nefarious, amorphous, non-thing entity. It actually feels like it's talking to you to convince you of something. But once it convinces you, it's talking as you the rest of the fucking time. That happened to me in Bali. I had this free sample once, and it was beautiful. It was at a waterfall in Bali. It could have been in fucking Hoboken, New Jersey, but it was in a nice place. And something happened, and I felt a yes come over me, and I just went into something. And I remember I was just sitting there, and my girlfriend and her son were there, and I just was laughing, you know, just laughing uncontrollably. And then I heard a voice. It seemed like it was far away, and I didn't know whose voice it was. There was no who to have any voice. It was just a voice, very low. And then it seemed like it was behind this boulder that was about 30 feet away, and it started talking, and it seemed to be talking in some direction. And then suddenly, as it was talking, it suddenly started talking as me. And then the selfing reasserted, yeah? The cloak came over, and then there was Paul, who just had this incredible epiphany. But Paul wasn't there to have the fucking epiphany. It was the absence of Paul. And the fact is, you're inherently absent of Paul, unless you think otherwise. For you have listened to what can never communicate at all. Think then what happens, denying what you are, and firm in faith that you are something else. That's the only way you can believe you're something else, is through faith. Yeah? That's the only thing. Reality is the only thing that can make something real. It's the only it's the only no thing that can make something real, and we're that. And if you don't see yourself as an activity, you'll be looking for yourself as a noun. It's not going to work. Because it hasn't. If it hasn't worked now, it's not going to work. So, denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else. Now, my idea of faith is it's a force of mind, big M mind, yeah? Like a lot of people think they don't have faith, but isn't that faith? They have faith in the idea they don't have faith, yeah? So faith is what's producing this situation right now. And faith is a force, and it's going to manifest by the vehicle it's put in. So you watch you and other people. If there's faith in the failed thought system, it produces tons of anxiety that affect this moment now, but they come from what's not happening. That's faith. That's miracle working. We're working miracles all fucking day. We're making shit out of nothing. Jesus actually brought someone who was once alive back to life. Well, we're making shit out of nothing all day. That's a miracle. We can fuck our whole day up by thinking about last week. How is that possible? You can't fuck my day up today by thinking about next week, but it sure seems that if I start doing it, I can, yeah? It's insane, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So, denying what that you are something else. Denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else. This something else that you have made to be yourself becomes your sight. So now it's called self-centeredness. So you're looking at life from this idea of being a self. That's why we don't understand the communication, because we're not one. Yeah. So something that you have made to be yourself becomes your sight. Yet it must be the something else that sees and as not you. That's called looking, self-centeredness, yeah. It's like seeing, but it's a bastardized version of seeing. It's been claimed, and now you're looking for what's looking, instead of realizing what's looking and stop looking for. So, yet it must be the something else that sees and is not you, explains its sight to you, constantly. It explains my sight about you. It explains me in the past, it explains me now, it explains me in the future. It's constantly forecasting how the day's going to be before I even entered the day. It's what we call in AA, playing God. Yeah? And then if it's in the act of playing God, and then you tell it, hey, quit playing God, what happens when what's playing God tries to quit playing God? That's playing God. Ad infinitum, like that. Goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. That which is playing God tries to quit playing God, that's on and on. Self trying to get out of self, on and on. Yeah? The whole point is you're not in what we think we're in. And there's no need to fucking get out of an imaginary place. That's it. That's putting the foot down. That's putting an end to this fucking thing. You put an end to it by realizing there's no beginning. You can't put an end to its momentum when it's chugging and chugging along this line. You see the priorness, you see from the priorness, and then you see the whole fucking imaginary journey, and you see it from head to toe. Yet it must be this something else that sees and has not you, explains its sight to you. Your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. Yeah? If you were resting in the seeing, you would have no fucking metaphysical questions. Fucking at all. You'd have questions about where are my keys, or, where can I get a sandwich, but nothing about the inherent condition. You would lose all interest in it as a topic, really. I mean, knowing it and studying it is bogus when you're being it. I mean, being it puts it all to fucking shame. I mean, it just mutes it all. I mean, once you get a taste of being what you've been looking for, you are gonna stop looking for it and just be it. There's not gonna be, you're not gonna, it's like having someone else go out on a date for you. They get fucked, they get kissed, and then they tell you about it. Oh no, you're the one. There's no middleman or middlewoman anymore. So yet if your eyes are closed and you have called upon this thing to lead you, yeah. So if your eyes are closed and you called upon this thing, this GPS to lead you, yeah, asking it to explain to you the world it sees, which is going to be interpreted to you as a body, yeah? So it's going to tell you how this place looks as a body. It looks fucking threatening sometimes, yeah? But is that true seeing? No. That's an advertisement, yeah? So reason would tell you it cannot be true because you do not understand it. Yeah? You really don't, do you? You don't understand it when someone else is fucked up about last week, really, do you? I mean, if I'm sitting here and someone's totally flipping out, it's not contagious. Because what's happening to them that's provoking the effects isn't happening seemingly to me, so I have an immunity to it. What's the difference? I see it as not me. Yeah. I can call it Joe, but basically I'm seeing it as not me. Why not apply that to the me that you're seeing? Yeah? Maybe it's not me. And if it's not you, you're going to lose interest in all the shit that's projecting this little image. You're the source of light. I don't care how many cameras there are. If there's no light going through it, you're not going to see anything. We are the light, yeah? So your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. Yet if your eyes are closed and you have called upon this thing to lead you, asking it to explain to you the world it sees, you have no reason not to listen, nor to suspect that what it tells you is not true. Now, to me, when the reason usually shows up is when you're sick and tired of being fucking sick and tired. You're sick and tired of searching for some delayed arrival date where you're going to be okay. You're sick and tired of having to just make it through a day by having a nostalgic view that once you were all right. Yeah? You're sick and tired of it. You're sick and tired of the delay. You're sick and tired of that latte isn't here right now. You're sick and tired of sitting in that fucking cafe waiting for something to happen. The failed system has done its job. It's informed you it's failed. So that maybe, just maybe, your interest and attention will not be moved from it by interest and attention, but by loss of interest, your interest and attention will leave it. You cannot leave it by interested in leaving it. You leave it by losing interest in it. You lose interest in it because it's not you. That's just how it works. And now that interest is now going to enrich your day instead of being used to enslave your day by being constantly interested in what's not happening. Because there's more of you in what's not happening than there is here. Here, it's the act of being alive. You're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. In past and the future, you are the seer or the seeing. There's no fucking seeing in there. It's like dead pictures taking the place of a live event. But every one of the pictures is like Waldo, you're found in all of them. Yeah? So you'll be looking at shit, you'll be going over something that may not even happened and try, oh, what would have happened if I wouldn't have said that? She would have liked me and I'd have a kid, blah, blah, blah. You go through fucking minutiae over and over again, trying to find some fucking sense why things aren't working. They're not working because you're involved. Really. What I found when I got recovered from alcohols and drugs, it was my own vested interest which was the biggest problem. You may think it's noble. I have this example of, I've had trouble with my stomach for quite a while when I was younger. So I was always seeking relief, trying to. and none of it ever really worked. So at this one point, I found this probiotic from Canada that came in like a little milk bottles, and you get 6 of them for like $48 at Whole Foods. So I started drinking it weekly, religiously, and I was trying, but all my attention was right in here, all day. This was it. I was just thinking about this all day, not knowing that thinking of it was making it fucking so much worse. My observation was causing it to be fucking totally agitated. Yeah, because it doesn't need, this is why it's inside. It's not meant to have a lot of fucking attention. You know what I mean? It's meant to be involuntarily working. It doesn't need you to get in there. But I was in there completely, all day. So I'm taking this shit for a year. Thousands and thousands of dollars I'm spending. And I'm making, oh, am I feeling better? Actually, nothing had happened. Nothing had changed. So I decided there was this laboratory in Tennessee in America called Smoky Mountain Labs. And they were supposed to be the best laboratory in examining your shit, yeah? So they'd send you a box where you could put the shit in, and they give you a thing, and you'd write down what you wanted checked on. So everyone, of course, writes parasites, because we missed the biggest parasite, which is us, and we're so afraid of having parasites. But we've been had by a parasite completely. So the fear is misdirected. You should be totally fucking flipped out about what you're in, but you're worried about a parasite in what you're in. So and I'm waiting for the report back. Yeah, I'm really keen on seeing it. So I get it, and I look parasite. No parasites. Great. Then I look at signs of intestinal flora. Now I've been pouring in. I have created more citizens in my intestines of beneficial flora than there are humans on the planet. There's zillions of beneficial intestinal flora, and it's only like a 12-foot long world. I mean, I stuffed in as many as I could. You know, hopefully they cross-spawn and they have good intestinal flora. So I look at it, and it says signs of beneficial flora, 0.00. What? There's not even a sign that there's any in there. I go, where did they go? I poured so much in there, there should be some remnant of the civilization. It got wiped out like Pompeii or whatever. So then I go to the next paragraph, and it says, oh, you have 2 bacteria that are inhabiting your intestinal area that love beneficial flora. So I was catering to the problem. I was giving it a gourmet meals weekly. Fucking unbelievable. So you see, a lot of times your interest is the biggest problem because it's fucking directed. That same interest and attention, if it's directed by, let's say, not self-centeredness, but centeredness, will enrich your fucking day. You'll have an immunity to what's not happening, and it's not an immunity that you have to defend. It's just an immunity. You just have a clear understanding that what's not happening is not happening, because it's not happening. It's not a very big leap, yeah? And all this stuff starts to become actualized in your living, yeah? And you start knowing the tree by its fruits. You start seeing Jesus after a period of time, because this is sentient. It can observe what's happening to it. The Toyota can have a certain sense of what's going on. Yeah? It doesn't know how or why, but it has a sense. So after a while, you realize, Jesus, I've been traveling lighter for these last few years. Yeah? I mean, I've gone through a lot of things, and I've gone through a lot of things with other people, but I've traveled lighter through it all. Yeah, I didn't leave much of a footprint. I held the space and all like this. Not as an effort, but just as a way it is, yeah? So now you're on to something. Why wouldn't you just allow more entertaining? See, entertaining does never followed by a period. It erases all the periods. So when you hear the statement, whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving, it's not a period. It just goes off. And your head entertains it, and a lot's revealed, yeah? And when you hear the seeker is the sought, there's no period. It's the seeker is the sought. What it does is it attracts the mind to arise, and then the mind goes around it, and so much is revealed, not by the statement, but through the statement. It triggers mind itself, and then there could be an avalanche. And the avalanche, the sound of this giant avalanche never hits a wall. So you have a realization in mind, but it's not mind realizing, because mind is always realized. But there's a realization in mind, and in that realization and its reverberation never hits anything. And you get a sense of infinity or something, yeah? You get a sense of what's really happening here, which is seeing never alighting onto an object. There's just seeing uninterrupted infinitely. Yeah? It's like you drop a stone in the well and there's never an echo. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. Yeah? How does that translate here? It translates as a traveling light or as the action figure. You have become even more of an individual when you're not an individual. And I'm telling you, you've never been an individual. So it's not something that had to be performed or produced, it's the state. We are not individuals. We can appear to be an individual, and you will appear more to be an individual when you realize you're not one. It's gorgeous, yeah? And now you'll be here, you'll never get gypped. And it's not like it's always going to be great. Jesus Christ, when I go on a plane, I'm feeling thousands of sensations every second. I'm feeling the blood moving through, I feel fucking slight with everything. It's like you're so incessantly on, you can see why you wanted to damp it down. Because it's way too much at times. Yeah, but you're never gypped. You're never in the backyard when the delivery occurs. Yes, you have eyes to see now the choreography that goes on here and the world of coincidences, because there aren't any, and the incredible event that's happening here. Yeah, and it's your way of seeing isn't this, therefore that anymore. It's that and that's that. Yeah. And you are what you've been looking for. Yeah? But you can only find it through the seeing, not by looking. Yeah? And right now we're all seeing, right this very second. And there's no effort or thought involved in it. Just like when it appears as consciousness through the body. Do you have any volition in consciousness? Do you have a choice of what you're going to see when your eyes are open looking out of a window? No. Does it demonstrate, do you need to be thoughtful and doing a lot of effort to be conscious? Isn't it the most freely given gift of all that we don't notice? The seeing, do we have to, go to seeing classes to try to get better at seeing? Can you feel better? How can you believe then you're going to go arrive back there with thought and effort when that which you'd like to go back to is never exhibiting any thought or effort? It's loss of interest. It's dispersal of attention. It's not focusing a lens on a goal, but losing any interest in most goals. Yeah. So the thing opens up. The aperture opens up and you see so much more when you're not seeing much. Yeah. You just sense the space more than you see the people and the things in the room. You sense it. You sense what we are. And satsang to me is an amplification of it. That's all. And it's not coming from anybody. It's all of us producing it. And first, completely get this for me. The message is not the messenger, or the messenger is not the message. The message is coming through the messenger. But I'm like a mailman. I don't even want to come in and read the letters with you. I just want to hand you the letter. Yeah? And then I go back, and I don't want anyone to go home with the mailman either at times. Yes? I am not the fucking one who's doing anything. I've never been that way. I've learned it since I was sharing in recovery. I always felt as an experience here that something moved through me. If I was willing to be available, I'd be available. I didn't have to become accredited to be available. If I was willing to give it away, I would have it. And that's been it the whole time. It's because if it was about me, I wouldn't show up half the time. I wouldn't. Who the hell? If I thought about coming to Canada, I'd never come to Canada. Whoever comes to Canada on their first trip in January? That's the first time I came here, January, and I landed here on the coldest day of the year. Who the fuck would go do that? But I didn't think about it. They invited me. I said, sure, I'll come there. I got there. The guy goes, that jacket ain't gonna do. He had a big Parker, and I entered the world of Michelin people. Everyone had their fucking thing on. I didn't even want to breathe. It was so fucking cold. I was like, no. But it was awesome, and that's the whole point. If you think about doing something, you're probably not going to do fucking anything. What would happen if you preceded the thought instead of thought preceding you? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine you preceded the thought? You were before the thought instead of you being seen or starting from after a thought. You would have a space between the thoughts and you. Yeah. Thoughts have, let's say I have my girlfriend of 6 years, now that's over, seemingly, whatever. And I may have thought about, I hate her, maybe 50 times, maybe in those 6 years, but I never said it to her, yeah? So that ship never docked, and the cargo didn't get unloaded, and, it just kept going. But one time I said it. I said, I hate you. And you know what? That night I went to a movie and forgot about it, but she didn't forget about it. And after the next day, her calling everyone, they didn't forget about it. So that thought that could have been just like millions of other thoughts passed, had a point where it compelled an action through this. And that action is going to be what tattoos you. But it was the thought. The thought extended its life by effect. It affects you here, and that extends its life. And everything is trying to break through this membrane that we represent. We're like an interface. And the thoughts are constantly attempting to compel an action. Because once an action is compelled, the thought seems to live. It has produced an effect. And the effect is going to be on you or on others. And you'll be in jail for the rest of your life. Because I know people who killed someone in a blackout. Now they're in San Quentin for the rest of life. And they can't even know what happened that put them in this situation. That's what one thought can do if it's preceded by my and compels an action. And most thoughts cannot compel an action, but my thoughts can compel a whole fucking lifetime. Because the power has been given over to the thoughts through the mind. Through the claiming of being the thinker, thoughts now have the ability to affect us. If you want freedom from thought, be free from the thinker. And I'm telling you, you are free from the thinker because you're not the thinker. The thinker doesn't have to try to become the unthinker. There's never been a thinker. There's just thinking. And the thinking is just like everything else. It wants to manifest. It wants to break through the cement and fucking make something happen. Look at this. I had this happen to me with a typical thought I've had millions of times when I was using. I finished the night. It was pretty much over. It was Sunday night, freezing in Long Island, New York. I went to a bar on the way home. My friend was the bartender. There was only one waitress there. No one else was in the fucking place. And it didn't look like anyone else was going to go to the place. I leave there, taking some Grand Marnier and a Quaalude. I get back to my sister's house where I was staying, and I get irritable, restless, and discontent. And I feel like a big party has erupted at the bar, and I'm missing out on something. So I got into the car, which I turned off, was going to go to sleep, drove down there thinking I was going to get to the bar, but I got run over twice. The guy ran me over, didn't know what he hit, so he backed up to see, and it was me. So that thought, compelling an action, has produced an effect on the body for 37 years now. One thought out of many thoughts, just like that one thought, but that one thought had a wallop because it was my thought. And that my thought came out, expressed itself, and left its fucking mark in this dream. Yeah, that's what happens to people. They're driven by thought. They do something, and then that something tattoos them. And then even though they may entertain they're not a body, everyone else who fucking knows them sees them as a body. And then they're afraid to be different, so they fucking get in line with the herd. Yeah. Because they're afraid they'll lose something by being empty, when that's everything. The emptiness is everything. What you're losing is nothing. don't know where we are, can we get this? I'm gonna have to have him come with me everywhere now. All right, just a sec. All right, so it goes here. Your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. Like all this would be rendered unnecessary. It really would. We're just pointing out the obvious, yeah? Asking it to explain to you, all right, reason would tell you it cannot be true because you do not understand it. God has no secrets, or let's say mine. He does not lead you through a world of misery, waiting to tell you at the journey's end why he did this to you. That's the mental state playing God. Can you imagine if you've been listening to your head all your life, and you're on your deathbed, and the head wants to have its final fun with you, and just before your last breath it says, Paul, you know, you really blew it. What a note to end on. Eh? And how are you not going to listen to it if you've been listening to it your whole fucking life? This is the final broadcast. You're a real fucking loser, Paul. Why wouldn't you take it to be true? You've been taking it to be true all this time. What do you think is going to be different? You better get weaned off it now. And you can't get weaned off it by interest. You've got to see it the negative sort of way by losing interest in it. Yeah. Because if you study about, let's say you take a 2-year course about obsession with self, that's obsession with self. You can't get out of it by the system that's in it. Yeah, it's just not going to work. I'm serious. I've tried it. You all have tried. I'm sure we have hundreds of years of spiritual practices in this room right now. Yet we're in this room right now. Doesn't that tell you something? So the failed system has led you to a possibility. Jesus, it's okay to be Michael because you're not Michael. If this is me, it's seen as an urban renewal project for fucking ever. It should be a lot better. I should be a lot nicer, all this stuff. But once you lose interest in it, I'm telling you, it's the biggest boon the body will ever have when it's not seen as the center of the universe. Yeah? It's not always thought about. It's not being observed constantly. It's sort of just grazing on a fucking... I'm not burning any houses down. I'm not sleeping with people's wives. I'm not doing anything that should demand any observation. Fucking just forget it. If you look out the window there, it's grazing, you know, trying to find a latte or buy a pair of pants, you know. If they sent a private investigator, he'd quit on the job after 11 a.m. This fucking guy's doing nothing. When he goes home, he goes home. You know, I mean, really, it's all freed up. Yeah. So, any questions today? I just love being here, but you know, I don't like dragging this out all the time. And it's not because of anything other than the message I get from that message. This doesn't need a long, drawn out thing. Yeah? I have too much faith in mind. Faith in mind, you do not need to give a full course meal to mind. All you need is a little sample. It tastes it and then it expands on it. Yeah? That's better to me than the fucking... And you know, again, we talk about it Thursday night and stuff. This message is not being... I'm not speaking to you about this message. I'm speaking to what we are about you. Because I learned early on, talking to you about the message or about mind goes nowhere. But if I talk to mind about you, that can go somewhere. Yeah? Because it's the mind that's entertaining you. You're not entertaining mind. The mind is entertaining you. That's who you speak to. That's where this message goes. And it's not the words. The words are a conveyance. The message is not words. The message is a resonation that you want to hear the ringing of the bell out there, but the ringing of the bell is in there. The constant ringing of the bell. You hear a bell being rung here, all it does is hit the constant ringing of the bell where you're sitting. It's not a new bell, it's not a new melody. You know the fucking melody. Yeah? When you have an aha, you know the melody. When something resonates with you, it's because it is you, yeah? It's knowledge prior to knowledge. It's knowing prior to knowing. Why not have fucking faith in that instead of a failed system? Put your foot out, there'll be a stair. But if you wait to get guaranteed a stair, you're not going fucking anywhere. Have faith in mind. Nothing is the gift that keeps on giving. If I'm good at this, it's that you get nothing. Year after year after year. You come in here with nothing, you get nothing here, you leave with nothing. That's the message has been delivered. Yeah? There's a great story we shared on Thursday. I don't know if it's true or not, from a master Ramana Maharshi, where a lot of his older students or people he knew were talking, and he came in and they asked him, could they teach? So he said, yeah, all of you can teach, but I don't recommend it. And so they were a little perplexed by that, and they go, why? And he says, compassion. And they were perplexed by that, and he says, and then he started talking. He says, listen, you'll be in front of a group of people, and because of that compassion, you'll dilute the message. You'll make it applicable to where they are, instead of denying or negating where they are. You'll try to fit it to fit where they are, and therefore the message gets diluted. Yeah. We're unpopular, we're disorganized, it works. Yeah? We fucking start the meeting late. You know, we have fucking, like the gang that couldn't shoot straight, but it allows just a constant giving of nothing. And people who've been seeing me for years, they call me up. Anything new? No, nothing new. Anything? No, nothing. There's no point other than this point. If you don't see this point, you're going to be looking from it from all these other points. Yeah? This is the problem. This is the conception of the false identification. The presupposing a non-existent thing that wants to get salvation for the non-existent thing. What more scripture do you need than that? If the shoe fits, wear it. Is there a sense of being existing as a non-existent thing? And because that sense of being existing has been tattooed to a non-existent thing, now suddenly the non-existent thing wants salvation, which is great, but for the non-existent thing, where salvation from the non-existent thing is the inherent state, because the thing is non-existent. How long will it take to produce what's always happening? No time. Will it ever reach a point where it's not happening? No. Where's the entrance? Now. Where? Here, now. You don't even have to turn the knob. You're in already. Just realize what you're not, and you'll realize where you are. Yeah? You cannot get it from what you're not. You cannot. People have been trying for fucking years. You tried it for years. The system will turn on itself and you'll be blamed. I didn't meditate enough. I should have stayed with that person. I wish I was alive when Ramana was alive. That would have done it. No, you wouldn't have done it. You know, that's why everyone loved dead masters, because dead masters don't irritate you. They don't keep their foot on your throat. Dead master. You feel it? You sense it now? You can almost, you're humming the vibration of being resonating against the non-existent husk. Yeah, just constantly vibrating. At such a, there's a great thing by Buddha in the old conservative Buddhism, and he talks about the speed of mind, big M mind, is unfucking believable, and Ramana says it. It says the sages that are sitting there doing nothing are moving at such an incredible speed, yeah? But it looks like they're doing nothing. But the verbing of mind is so fucking unbelievable if you sense it as still. It's that fucking fast, yeah? It pulsates in you. You can sense it pushing against this little fucking prefabbed idea. Yeah? Pouring out, light pouring out. Yeah, so we'll take a break, eh? Yes? Or we can just lay down here. You feel like it, really just lay down. Fucking enough. Yes. Let's just say we went till 5:30. Let's get over the fucking charade. Take half of your money back. Let's forget it. All right, well, what are we gonna do?
Let me just turn this off.